we've got today a friend of ours, Nicole Bourgeois, and she is now a hypnotist. She's going to tell us a lot about that, and let's get to it. Okay, so Nicole is a hypnotherapist. Nicole is a Reiki instructor, practitioner, holistic nutritionist, and compassion key practitioner in master practitioner training.
Do you mind if I jump in for a second?
Yeah, please do.
Just to make a correction, in Ontario, the designation, unless I'm a psychotherapist as well, I can't call myself a hypnotherapist. I'm a certified hypnotist, and I am a Reiki practitioner. So I don't have a master level in that that would qualify me to do any teaching. I did train to do holistic nutrition. Gosh, it's been a few years ago now. And yes, I am I have a level 1 compassion key certification, and I'm in a beautiful lengthy master practitioner program at the moment that will be done in June.
Okay. I'm really interested in the hypnotist side of things. Can we talk about that? And lay it on me.
Yeah.
Well, well, I can tell you what Chat GPT told me.
Okay.
All right. So, assessment and rapport building, establishing trust, rapport with clients, conducting a thorough assessment of the client's issues, goals, and medical history. 2, treatment planning, formulating a treatment plan that addresses the client's specific needs and goals. Deciding on the appropriate techniques and methods necessary based on the client's feedback and progress. 6, ethical and professional conduct, ensuring confidentiality and adhering to ethical guidelines, maintaining professionalism, and setting appropriate boundaries with clients. 7, continual learning and development, keeping up to date with the latest research and techniques in hypnotherapy. I'll come back to that. Engaging in continuous professional development to improve skills and knowledge. That's Chat GPT for you. They don't see a difference because I specifically wrote in clinical hypnotist. Maybe you could tell our listeners what we are talking about, the difference, and why in Ontario.
I'm not sure so much about what the mechanics are behind that. There's not a governing body for hypnotism. However, for some reason, the province of Ontario provides this distinction. So I just have to make that correction whenever it comes up and ChatGPT wouldn't know about those changes, but that's fine. It really, as far as what I do, there's not, I guess I have to be careful what I say. To me, like whether I'm called a clinical hypnotist, a certified hypnotist, a hypnotherapist, it's all the same to me. I just can't legally call myself a hypnotherapist.
Correct.
And with regards to Chat GPTs, did you punch in like define hypnotism or define?
I said, what is, the question was, what are the key aspects to the work of a clinical hypnotist?
Oh, interesting. I would say that it can be. A lot of those things are possible. I think the realm of the practice, the realm, however you want to define it, is really quite broad. So although a lot of those things are a part of it. I wouldn't define hypnotism by many of those points. Like how I came to hypnotism was through purely, I think, what a lot of people feel compelled to try it for. You, with a lot of modalities, you hit a point where you really don't feel like you have any other options anymore. It's not something that you knew about or thought about. Then all of a sudden you're thinking, well, I've tried everything else to quit smoking, or I've tried everything else to lose weight, or I've tried everything else to deal with this fear of spiders, snakes, flying, water, whatever. And so I kind of came to it that way by experimenting on my own. And I went to see a hypnotherapist, like who was also a psychotherapist at the time. I was doing talk therapy with her. And it kind of introduced me to a lot of, or opened me up a lot to the experience of, letting go and having someone guide you and help you. And so it wasn't until a few years later that I really felt that that was a calling for me, because it had so many foundational changes for myself that I wanted to learn about it. So I did. And this is kind of circling back to your question about the like designation names, is one would take like a foundational program through what is the closest thing to, I guess, a society. It's not regulated, as I mentioned. So in the States, there's a basically the quote unquote governing body is called the National Guild of Hypnotists, which I love and also think is silly and fun at the same time. I love it.
Sorry, was it Nash Guild? Guild?
Yes.
I love
And sometimes when you're trying to explain hypnosis, it's not, so I laugh because I'm thinking, this isn't helping my case. But I think it's fantastic. So I don't know. I could easily go into kind of, I do a bit of a pre-talk for my clients that kind of explains a bit about what hypnosis is and it isn't, and addresses some myths around hypnosis, like some of the obstacles people have with that. So I can touch on a few of those things, and definitely, I guess, further to my having done some foundational work with the guild. I didn't really do much with it until later. I saw a medium, and she's the one who said, oh, well, maybe you just haven't found the right style yet. And she introduced me to the concept of learning from a woman called Inez Simpson, who's the founder of the Simpson Protocol. And I really gravitate towards a style where the client doesn't really have to get involved. They can put their conscious mind in the driver's seat and not have to recount even why they're there. We're really just looking at the symptoms and how to help people get through things, help people manage things, but they don't have to like re-traumatize themselves to do that. So that's really where I got into the more metaphysical style. And that's even not a fair description of what I do either, but we can talk about that a little later. Start at the beginning, or
let's do that.
Okay.
Give it like lay the ground, the path.
Yeah. I think it's important. It provides a context to discuss, like you learn scales on a piano before you can kind of freestyle. So some of the basics are just that hypnosis is pretty much around choice. It's a natural state that we all go in and out of many times in the day. When you are daydreaming, you're actually you're moving out of a conscious state and into a place where you've gone somewhere else. We also, when we tie our shoes, we've done that repetitively, and now we don't even think about it. when we're driving. It was a really conscious decision when we were learning, and we were like really kind of, figuring it out. And now we can get from point A to B, and sometimes we don't even remember how we got from our house to our destination when we arrive. So it's really like about learning and practice, and that applies to your emotions as well. You have your hand up.
Yes. Are you saying that when we zone out, then we are somehow there's what is this place? The
Well,
hypnot.
this is where we kind of park when we're not thinking, and we're kind of in a drifting mode. And um you can think of it too as the place where, as you're going to sleep, you're going from a conscious mode to being sleepy, and where we might find ourselves in a meditative state, like a focused or, meditative place where we've changed that dynamic and mode. And then when we go even further, now we're in a near sleep. And that's what daydreaming is. You're not awake, you're not asleep, but you're in a place, and in that space, you're actually quite suggestible. So the art of hypnosis is about harnessing that space and allowing the individual to let themselves allow the work to happen and achieve the results that they'd like. So the thing is, with that repetitive thing, like when you eventually can tie your shoelaces without thinking about it, that applies to our emotional states as well. So when we're little and we stub our toe, no, somebody says something mean to us, we have no context. We're still a blank slate. We have an emotional response to that. But now we've actually learned to become an expert in exactly that frequency that's coming toward us. And we've learned a response to it. So every time that happens as we grow, we're kind of, say we're holding a little pebble when we're little, is that every time it happens, you might be adding a layer to that pebble. And now you're an adult and you're carrying this boulder around, and maybe it's not an annoyance or a protection or whatever. Maybe now we don't speak out because we're worried about getting yelled at, or we don't stub our toe because we're worried we're going to, well, that's not a good example, but we've developed anger issues potentially because of something that, we allowed. Well, we learned it repeatedly over and over again. Like into adulthood, it's like a learned reaction. So when we become an expert on how to respond to something, we've maybe developed your phobia of flying, or whatever people have phobias about. You can have a phobia about just about everything. So I would say one of the two things that people are scared of mostly, and the things that people ask me about the most, is the fear of being hypnotized and the fear of not being able to be hypnotized. And firstly, what does everybody know? Let me backtrack a little bit. What does everyone generally know about hypnosis?
They turn you into a chicken.
Yeah,
You start clucking like a chicken.
sure. And
Uh,
where do we learn about hypnosis
TV.
for the most part? Yeah, television, film, well, any type of media. And have either of you seen Get Out, the Wayans brothers film? Well, I mean, there's so many. I just choose that as an example because it scared the crap out of me.
It's
But
so scary. I
yeah,
didn't see that.
yeah.
No.
So let's just say that more often than not, hypnosis is a device used by the villains in the story to get what they want or manipulate people. And so that is in itself a form of hypnotism. People are generally worried that they're going to lose control, cluck like a chicken, have their free will taken away from them. So, like on that front, the body's number one job is to thrive and not die, like to simplify things. So there's a protector part of us that is always wanting to, tick those boxes so those things don't happen. We don't want to break our hearts. We don't want to walk into a wall. We don't want to, trip and fall, any of the things we don't want. So it's totally normal for us not to want to give somebody else access, even if it's to help you. It's scary. So it's totally normal to not want to give over to that. We don't want to disconnect from that protection. We don't want to lose control. But with hypnosis, as a hypnotist, we don't want that. We don't want that responsibility. We don't want it from you. We just want, or I do, maybe I shouldn't generalize. I want somebody to feel comfortable taking that protector part and just putting them in the passenger seat and not be in the driver's seat.
Would you say to people who say that the hypnotist can lead the person and
That
perhaps
kind of,
when they are suggestible, steer a narrative?
well, a hypnotist can't make anyone do what they don't want to. I can't override your free will. And even in a deep hypnotic state, if I ever asked you to do something like, a friend of mine loves this analogy, so I'll use it, Patty. Thank you. If I said, give me the PIN number to your credit card and hand me your credit card, and then I leave you there and off I go. Well, you're never, hypnosis isn't sleep. It's not being in a coma. It's not being out cold. You are always aware 100% of the time. And it's really just allowing yourself to be an observer in the situation. So insofar as leading someone, I would never be allowed to say anything that goes against your beliefs. I couldn't make you change religions. I couldn't, I'm really limited. My whole role is just to guide someone into a place where they're making their own, having their own aha moments and kind of going into a space where they can heal those things that they've developed over time in a much more accelerated fashion.
I'm thinking about I listened to the tapes. You can listen to them online
Mm-hmm.
of Eddie and Barney Hill, and they were abducted. They drove from the States and went to Niagara Falls and then drove back. And the fear in Barney's voice is so utterly disturbing. But I think I'm just trying to say that hypnosis can also have a very profound effect for memories that people are having trouble fully remembering.
It's true. It can be. But I don't like using the word but. Part of hypnosis is, no, I'll move one step back. The brain will not serve you anything that you are not ready to handle. There are protective things in place that keep things that way for a reason. So if you felt that you had a traumatic experience, but you don't have access to it, and it doesn't matter what that is, even in deep hypnosis, you're not ever going to force the brain to give up something that the person isn't in a place to deal with. That's another misconception, I think, in films is, the lawyer
Well,
will bring so and so, to a hypnotist to try to. And the bigger question in that type of TV show is whether or not it's admissible in court. But there is no magic wand that is going to make someone reveal something hidden. If someone's processed a lot of healing and they're ready for it and you explore, there's never a guarantee that you're going to come out with what you're looking for. In fact, hypnosis it's a path. It's not like a hard framework, I would say. When you go in, it's about curiosity and imagination. You're just going to go where you need to, like where the healing is, whatever the deepest is that you are allowed to go or can go that day, that is what's going to happen. And it's not usually within your control necessarily. So oftentimes I'll have people ask me, well, there's a difference between whether or not they're asking me to help them figure out why their father is such a jerk versus I want help, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I want help with the symptoms I'm experiencing from having a complicated childhood and relationship with my father. because I can help somebody with their symptoms, not necessarily change a cause.
I think what maybe if I'm not sure we're really talking about the same thing necessarily. So they were abducted.
Yes.
And for instance, Dr. John Mack hypnotized many abductees. And but when you hear the tape, he is reliving something that he could not access previously. And it terrorized him. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right?
Mhm.
It's space gap. I gotta ask.
Of course. No, and I understand. And I may have jumped ahead only because I've had people ask me to look into, I was worried about an abductee situation, and I'm in no way discounting that people who maybe specialize in that type of work there's a difference between what you have practice in too.
Okay.
If somebody's specialty is doing work around those traumas and they've been doing it for 20 years, they're looking for different cues from people. They're seeing different patterns, which is why they might be looking for different cues. I'm not sure how to explain how the brain works, I guess, generally. I think on some level, the people that, what's that?
Consciousness. I mean, it's big. And do you know, actually, even NASA, they're all looking at consciousness now
Yes, they are.
because they know that we don't know what we don't know.
Who's on
It's
first?
huge. Yeah, exactly. Um, NASA is.
Yeah, yeah. I think what I'm saying is
Right.
I would even argue that the people who are having these memories uncovered are also people who are in a place that they're ready to examine it. So if I use the example of somebody shows up in my office and says, I want to quit smoking. Okay, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you want to quit smoking? Well, my wife made me come. So I don't know. It's like a 2. Well, session's over. Like, if it's not for you and you're not like 100% ready to explore those things, then I can't force you. Again, cycle back. I can't force anybody to do anything. So I would argue that on one level,
And they did want to
subjects,
find out.
exactly.
Yes, good point, Nicole. Exactly. Thank you for sorting that with us. What are your feelings about other beings, other life forms?
Do I believe they exist? Or sure. I'm a big Jodie Foster Contact fan, so I won't try to remember the exact, well, the big waste of space, I don't remember the entire quote, but that if there weren't such beings, then what a huge waste of space, or something like that. And I know at one time we'd had a discussion about where, I feel like ever since we had that conversation,
Yes.
I feel like I've heard at least 3
We were
people
having it
say,
now.
like, where does I'll say all the people, God, goddess, the universe, source, whatever, however, all the people identify with like a higher power, like, where do aliens fall into that conversation? And creation is a source point, right? Like, so everything else that exists stems from that place, in my opinion. And I get that interdimensionally and other universally, things that I could never promise to even begin to understand, there are likely different ways and origins so I don't know, I really not a expert to speak to any of it, but those are my thoughts.
Well done. Would Colin like to interject?
Past life regression, do you do any of that type of stuff? Or is it mainly quitting smoking and, the type of things that if I were to visit a hypnotist, it would be like quitting smoking, uh, you know, that type of stuff. I don't have, as far as I know, I don't have any hidden traumas. I don't think I've been abducted. I'd be fascinated to be hypnotized. If I ended up after hypnosis, somebody said, well, the reason you smoke is because these aliens taught you how to smoke, and that's the thing. I would think I had been led on, uh, and and I am curious because I mean a fair, especially when it comes to criminal trials and things like that. Sometimes people say the hypnotist led them. You know, these people went in and they had no memory at all about childhood sexual assault, and uh, after a few hypnosis sections, they realized that they were so messed up because of something that their mother or father or Uncle Ernie had done to them when they were a child. Is that not a danger in hypnosis? That and I mean, you would never lead anybody into that, but not even unethical, but misguided hypnotists. Is that not a possibility?
Well, that actually goes back to Eli's original list from ChatGPT there. What was the actual point?
Well, I think we talked about that you are not able to lead the client into, you cannot steer the narrative.
Oh, no, it was
Is that what
specifically
you're saying
around the
about
trust.
Colin?
That is a part of it, yes. But about setting up the rapport and the trust, absolutely. There are assholes in every profession who are only interested in their own gains, winning a case, whatever the case may be. I'm sure these people exist. Would either of you go to a criminal hypnotist? I mean, I'm asking myself too, would I go to these people
Right.
to and I, Colin, to answer your question, I like to use the some of the basic things that people think about using hypnosis for when I'm talking about it on a like hypnosis 101 basis, because it's what people are also familiar with as well. So so there were a few questions there. I do
Hey, now.
past life regression.
You
I
do?
specialize in a lot of higher mind hypnosis. Not, I mean, there's well, and I want to kind of lay the groundwork still, and maybe this is I'm certainly happy to talk about it more, but that might be kind of a part two discussion. I will for sure do my best to fit it in.
Do that with you, Nicole?
Yeah, yeah. I just
And
I don't want to leave the one part of some basics unattended. If there's just like a hanging, like just when we talk about fears around hypnosis.
yes.
The other one, and I think this dovetails a little bit into some of your questions. The second fear is the fear of not being able to be hypnotized, because I think that's the most second common question I get is like, I don't know if I can be hypnotized, like, or I can't be hypnotized. And both of these statements
Is that
are
possible?
again, well, those are both like what I would call like their own type of hypnotism. You know, whatever you know, when somebody says, "Well, oh, I'm now I'm thinking of a hypnotism example, but I can't be hypnotized."
Is
Okay.
it is a way of hypnotizing yourself? Is
Yeah.
repetition a way of?
Yeah. So the thing is with not worrying about not being able to be hypnotized is that you can't do it wrong. And this is important leading up to the other, like, you know, more juicy conversation of different styles and explorations, but you can't do hypnosis wrong from a client perspective. The key really just is around curiosity and imagination, and allow, like, being open to allowing the change to happen. So the next step that I usually might do in a pre-talk with someone is, well, where does the work get done? And this is a bit of a segue into some of that more fun stuff, is just defining that the conscious mind is our rational thinking mind, what we make decisions with, and that kind of stuff. The subconscious is all of the things that we do without thinking. So, you know, our heart beating.
It's a very important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think an aspect of it that people don't consider is that it's like a tape recorder. It records everything you've ever done. It's
Whoa.
like a ticker tape of all your emotions, activities, everything you've ever heard in life.
Is it
The
already,
sounds.
tucked into the Akashic realm?
You're jumping ahead, Eli.
Oh, sorry.
You don't, no
Oh
spoilers.
my god.
So uh the but a form of the next kind of form of consciousness, it has been called a lot of things in a couple of styles of hypnosis and a few other modalities. We refer to what's called the superconscious mind, and that can also be called higher consciousness. Some might call it oversoul, higher self, highest self, you name it. I'm sure there are many other labels. And what that is, to my knowledge, is that thing that, like, our gut response to something. If I walk to the end of a street and for some reason, you know, normally I turn left, but I don't even think about it. Today I'm turning right. And then you find out later that, I don't know, something bad happened, or you know, or there was an accident somewhere and you would have been like 2 hours delayed getting to your destination. I mean, it's a very crude example, but when
Your
you
higher
get into
your
that gut
intuition.
feeling, your intuition, exactly. Like, so where is that being informed from? So really, we're just giving a label for like basic explanation. You know, we've just got to put a name on it so that we know the space that we're working with. So when the thing that I really enjoyed, let's see, so when I felt called to doing hypnosis, and I learned a lot of the basics the way a lot of different practitioners do it, and there's zero wrong with that. I know loads of people who get amazing results. It just wasn't for me. And when I started doing work with the Simpson protocol, I was flabbergasted, because now I was in a situation where I'm having a direct conversation with that space. I'm taking a person into like a hypnotic trance, 100% still like an observer through the whole thing, but I'm not asking them questions that they're required to answer. I'm speaking to that higher aspect and getting yes or no answers, and we're just doing a bit of a dance so we can explore basic core issues that are causing somebody symptoms in present day, whether that's
Are you saying
phobias. What's that?
are you saying, I'm having trouble understanding, who are these protocols? Are you talking to source while you're in this? Is that what this is?
Yes.
Wow.
No, the protocols in particular, they are basically scripts designed by their founders. In the one case, Inez Simpson developed the Simpson protocol. So there's a series of questions and categories that we kind of move through to get to the root of an issue. And subsequently, well, part of that process was learning Simpson protocol as well through the then Ontario trainer, Jackie Ballog, who has since become a mentor and a teacher to me and a close friend. She worked with Inez's students to do the past life, and I'll introduce the concept of interlife as well as doing future life work and
I can't.
all
Neither
that
can
fun stuff.
listeners.
So I'm not making this stuff up. It's they're programs that have been developed by other people. Of course, going into my own practice, it's all a big exploration, and the key goal is to bring someone to a place where they're making their own connections. I'm not doing anything for anyone, and oftentimes people will show up expecting the practitioner to have a magic wand, and it is magic. Like, don't get me wrong, the results and the process is very magical, and it's amazing how quickly results can be achieved. And but you know, I'm not there to do anything for other people. I'm a guide.
Yeah.
I get to show you around. I get to help you nurture your curiosity and imagination so you can get to the places you need to go for the work to be done.
I was just listening to a podcast last night about people getting healed by things that oh no, sorry, it was Gaia television.
Mm,
And people had been healed by what they learned from past lives.
yes. So that I thank you for that segue into what I first heard and has meant a lot to me since from Inez Simpson is is the difference between real and imagined. It's not important is the answer to the question. So whether someone believes that when they go into session that they're experiencing being guided, or allowing themselves to go into a past life. Is this real? People will always ask, like, I feel like I'm making it up. Where is this all coming from? And it's not something that's easily talked about because a lot of the work is symbolic as well. But real or imagined, whether someone even believes that past life regression works or is a thing or should exist, is if they're open to allowing changes to happen, they will see them happen regardless of whether they feel they're making it up like the whole time. And I've been trying to figure out where I heard this quote recently about seeds and truth and imagination, and that imagination is the seed of truth. No, imagination is like the growth from they're so intertwined. I think it's like a
Right.
chicken before the egg type situation.
Yes.
Like
You
that your
build it
imagination
into
is
reality.
yeah. I mean, your imagination is coming from somewhere, so who
Yeah.
cares where it's coming from? Just explore the landscape when you're in session.
Correct. It went a lot farther than I think we were prepared for. Aliens, source, Akashic records. I think we will be asking Nicole to come back. Talk to you next time.